This week on Unscripted, we have the latest on everything we know about AEW. Plus, what's the future for Kenny Omega after Wrestle Kingdom 13, and the wrestling world loses another legend. This on the future #1 podcast right here on YouTube.com. This is Unscripted. What is going on, everybody? It's the Franz, and we are here again for Unscripted episode 51. I know we haven't been here since last episode of Unscripted and an NXT 2018 review. Both of those on the channel. Of course, Raw, SmackDown were taped while I was recording, on Saturday and Sunday the weekend before, and NXT was a review show for the year, so there was really no news on either one of those. I should have probably instead did NXT UK, but it's just like so much with them doing 2 episodes, and I don't know if they're back to 1 episode, but I doubt it. So hopefully we can get something about that coming back after Blackpool, which is next weekend. But this week is just Unscripted. Hope you guys are ready to go, because man, has it been a newsworthy show, a newsworthy week. But none of it, and I mean none of it, has anything to do pretty much with WWE. They, of course, were taped. John Cena was on SmackDown. He was supposed to be on Raw, but AJ Styles was ill, so he covered it for him. That's about it. But All Elite Wrestling. So much to go there. And yes, we usually talk about Raw and SmackDown, but they were both taped. Well, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and that they were all shows that weren't really worth watching. I mean, there was the Cassius Ohno versus Matt Riddle match for NXT, but that was pretty much it. Not much else to talk about there. But I hope you guys all had a wonderful holiday. Hope you guys enjoyed the festivities of a new year. I was in the middle of sleeping on when it hit the new year, and all I hear for when I was sleeping is bang, because somebody let off a firework in the middle of the night on New Year. So yay, that was fun. Anyway, everything will be back to normal next week. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and then of course Unscripted episode 52 will be coming up next week. I'm sure with everything that's going on with AEW after the new year, when New Year hit on the West Coast of California and everything, the Elite came up, and we had the announcement of All Elite Wrestling AEW with Matt, Nick, Kenny, out of everybody, and you had Matt, Nick, Hangman Page, I believe, Cody Rhodes, but no Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega is like the wild card in all this. Where is he going to end up? And after the results of Wrestle Kingdom 13, which we will have a review show going up, a mini review on Sunday sometime for you guys to see. We're going to be going over Kota Ibushi versus Will Ospreay. We're going to go over Jay White versus Kazuchika Okada, Chris Jericho versus Tetsuya Naito, and Kenny Omega versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. Those 4 matches right there are the matches that leap out to me as being the big matches of the show. So I'm going to go over those. I did do a mini review last year where I only really went over Cody's match, Kenny and Chris Jericho, and the final match, which was Kazuchika Okada versus I think it was Tetsuya Naito last year. So we're just going to go over that. I do hear that the pacing is a lot better, and the matches are shorter, which everyone who I hear there was a lot of complaining on social media was like, why are these matches shorter? Wrestle Kingdom should be 30-minute matches all the time. No. Why would you want to see a guy like Kazuchika Okada go through a 40-minute match every single night that he's out there? He does that on a consistent basis, and the dude's mileage is going to catch up with him, and he's only about 30 years old. So he would be retiring in about a year or 2. And that's it. It would be it. He would be done. You would see Kazuchika Okada wrestle until he was about 32, and with him working 40-minute matches every single night, 34 to 40 to 60-minute matches, that's just going to wear on the body. So him going up against Jay White yesterday, Yeah, and having a 15-minute match, I'm sure Kazuchika Okada was like, you know what, I can take a 15-minute match, not a problem. So anybody who thought that the match just went too short, you need to just stop and be thankful the fact that there was good matches with the opener and the 3 matches towards the end. There is nothing wrong with having, because I remember last year, and I did not watch, I watched some matches, but I didn't watch every match. I remember last year's Wrestle Kingdom. It felt like, from what you saw, 6.5 hours to 7 hours, because everything went long. There is nothing wrong with having short matches on any show, and the fact that they're going to next year, and this is something we'll talk about, I guess, a little bit more tomorrow, is that Wrestle Kingdom 14 is going to be on the 4th and 5th. What does that do for New Year's Dash? I honestly have no idea, because they're taking Wrestle Kingdom from a 1-day show to a 2-day show, and I honestly want to see how that's going to work, because there's a lot of people who talk about the fact that WrestleMania is so long now, and there's so many matches. There's like almost 20 matches a night in one night. Why not cut that in half? Put WrestleMania on Saturday and Sunday, so you could have all your matches, and you could have, since there are a Universal and a WWE Championship, have the first night headlined by the WWE Championship and the second night headlined by the Universal Championship, or vice versa. So everybody gets, because they want to put everybody on that card, and it's just what it is. It would be interesting to see if WWE, especially if Wrestle Kingdom, and this will be the thing, if Wrestle Kingdom 14 as a 2-day event is a success, damn straight, not WrestleMania 36, but WrestleMania 37 or 38, I could honestly see becoming a 2-night show. But the simple fact is, Vince McMahon does not like to be one-upped by anybody. So if someone comes out and is like, we're doing a 2-night event for our big pay-per-view, our WrestleMania of the year, which is, of course, the first show of the year when it comes to big events, and always has at least one match of the year candidate out of it. But Wrestle Kingdom 14, and Vince McMahon, maybe not Vince McMahon, maybe Triple H, maybe William Regal, Johnny Saint, or somebody in the company is going to be watching Wrestle Kingdom 14 with magnifying glasses on it to see if the 2-day event works. If the 2-day, I don't know if any indie promotion has done a 2-night event like Wrestle Kingdom is going to do for Wrestle Kingdom 14 next year. But this would definitely, if this is a major success as we think it could be, I could see WrestleMania, Survivor, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, and Survivor Series all becoming 2-night events, because Vince McMahon thinks, oh, it worked for Wrestle Kingdom, we can do it. I mean, the Royal Rumble would be one thing, because you would have the men's Royal Rumble main event, the Sunday show, and the Saturday show would be main evented by the women's Royal Rumble, so you kind of space it out. And if you really wanted to do a 2-night event, you could honestly make it so the single branded there's still single branded pay-per-views, with Raw having the Sunday show, and SmackDown having the Saturday show. Let me know in the comment section what you think about all that, because that's just things that I've heard and I've seen, is that people, especially with the fact that I was really surprised to see that news out that Wrestle Kingdom 14 is going to be the 4th and 5th, I think, next year. Yeah, the 4th and 5th. It's always January 4th, but January 4th and 5th. So I want to know what you think about January 4th and 5th, 2020, being Wrestle Kingdom 14. Is it a good idea? Do you think it'll be a success? And if it is, do you expect Vince McMahon and WWE to make not WrestleMania 35, of course, not 36, of course, because that's just way too early, but 37 or 38, or one of the pay-per-views coming up? Are we going to see a 2-night event pay-per-view in WWE if Wrestle Kingdom 14 will be successful next year? Now, that's usually how we monologue ourselves in, but we are going to be talking about All Elite Wrestling. A lot of this, and I have a lot of ideas of what I think should be going on. It's finally official. The Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, Adam Page are teaming up for All Elite Wrestling. They officially announced the promotion as soon as it hit January 1st, 2018 on the West Coast in a new episode of Being the Elite. Official details are scarce at the moment, but they do show a logo for Double or Nothing, which appears to be the brand's first show in the follow-up to All In. which, as you remember, at All In on the Aftermath, which of course All In was on a time crunch, so they didn't really get to do a goodbye like you would usually get to. They did it off the air. You can find it probably online somewhere. But Cody Rhodes did say that when you make a bet, you don't usually just go in head first. You go double or nothing. So that's where double or nothing came from. There's an update on Tony Khan's involvement too, the person behind who's going to be the head of All Elite Wrestling. More information has come out with Tony Khan's involvement with All Elite Wrestling. Not only is Khan helping fund a new wrestling promotion, but according to Pro Wrestling Sheet, he is also the official president of the company. That means that Tony Khan will be in the top role of the company. Expect him to take an active role rather than just putting his money in. According to previous reports, it looks like Cody Rhodes will be the executive producer, while the Young Bucks will be the bookers for the new promotion. Now, when it comes to saying the Young Bucks would be the bookers of the new promotion, most times when you hear an active wrestler becomes the booker, this goes back to Impact Wrestling, when Impact Wrestling first got started. When Impact Wrestling first got started, and I know he didn't win the championship, was not the first two champions of the NWA champion when Impact Wrestling had it. It was Ken Shamrock and then Ron Killings. But Impact Wrestling, for the most part, was booked for years to be the Jeff Jarrett show. 110%. It was Vince Russo and Jeff Jarrett booking the show to make Jeff Jarrett look strong. I don't want to hear it from anybody fucking else. I don't want to hear it from anybody who was there, who worked there. It was booked for Jeff Jarrett to win. He won the title. He won the NWA Heavyweight Championship 6 times. There's actually a video on. There's actually someone compiled all of Jeff Jarrett's wins. Championship wins from TNA's Asylum years and a little bit beyond that. Or not, I'm sorry. They had a compilation of all the all the NWA champions in TNA when it was part of the TNA organization. And you can go from Ken Shamrock to, I believe, Christian Cage, and you can see Jeff Jarrett won that title 6 times, more than anybody else in the 5 years, I believe. They started in 2002 and lost it in 2007 when the NWA took it back. So in that 5-year span, Jeff Jarrett won the title 6 times. That's one and a third times, or 1 1/4 times that's averages 1.3 or something championship reigns a year. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, when you hear that an active competitor like the Young Bucks, who are not probably retiring anytime soon, I expect to see them on TV, but I can see them being not the guys who are going to sit there and make themselves the tag team champions and hold them for an unseemly godly amount of time and just make it all about the elite, the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, and Adam Page. And one of the biggest things about a new wrestling promotion, you need to have not young stars, but young guys who are not known to most people, like they might be in their local indie fed. But you also need to have the guys like Cody and Adam Page and the Young Bucks and others as well. So this is going to be interesting, especially with the Young Bucks being the bookers. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Why I trust the Young Bucks a little bit more than most is because, as we know about All In, All In's main event was the Golden Elite of Kota Ibushi and the Young Bucks versus Rey Mysterio, Bandito, and I think it was Phoenix. I can't remember who the other guy was. But that match had to get cut short. But I think it was Matt or Nick Jackson cut a lot of the stuff that the Young Bucks were going to do to give Bandito a showcase that he had never seen before. Because before All In, I sure as hell never heard of Bandito. And I'm pretty sure a majority of people watching the show who saw the card and was like, who the hell is this Bandito guy? Where did he come from? Now look where he's at. He was being bid between AEW and Ring of Honor. And the biggest reason Ring of Honor won out on Bandito was simply because they had syndication TV deal, and they offered him a good bit of guaranteed money and guaranteed dates. So yeah, they gave in that main event match, Bandito was able to show what he can do to the public because one of the Young Bucks or both the Young Bucks cut out a lot of spots that they were going to do to get this guy notoriety. That's why I can trust Matt and Nick Jackson over a whole hell of a lot of the people in the wrestling business who would be if you put the book in their hand. In addition to being executive vice president of the company, Ring of Honor veteran Bijan Whitmer is also said to be a producer. Expect even more information investigating revealed as we get to even more. And then, of course, the Young Bucks inked their deals, as did Adam Page. Brandy Rhodes made their deals with Brandy Rhodes also, and we have a little bit of information on what she's going to be doing. The Yankees joins Cody, as earlier expected. Let's see here. Yeah, January 8th is going to be a rally. So this Tuesday, we are going to have a rally it's in Jacksonville. It's in the same spot as SmackDown Live. SmackDown Live will be in Jacksonville, and you know they did that. Like, they know that they could have had their Double or Nothing rally anywhere. And of course, I know, it's going to be based out of Jacksonville, but they could have had them anywhere. They could have been in Japan. They could have been in Chicago. They're doing it in Jacksonville, Florida, like 3 hours. It's going to be at 5. 3 hours before SmackDown Live. So, yeah. They know what they're doing, and it's going to be interesting. I can imagine with how big All In was and how big this has been, and the fact that they gave everyone a week's notice, I can see wherever they're taking this at, it's going to be, you're going to see, like when the Cleveland Cavaliers won their championship a couple years ago, undeservingly, just saying, but like they panned out and you could see this in huge row of fans. I'm just gonna say a huge row of Fairweather fans who probably don't even support the team anymore. Either way, like you just could not see street or anything on the ground except for people for miles. And honestly, I think this is what we'll see for this entire thing. Christopher Daniel, Scorpio Sky, and Frankie Cesarian SCU are also expected to be there. Rush.com is reporting that they have exclusive details regarding who is in discussion with the company and what television offers may be on the table. It's important to state that nothing is confirmed by any sort of the imagination, but the names Raj includes are more than familiar to mainstream fans. According to reports, Tony Khan, the president of AEW, is fronting $100 million for the launch of the company. Yes, putting up an indie wrestling promotion probably isn't going to take up $100 million. But when you want to go like this, like a number 2 or number 3 promotion in the United States, $100 million is probably not even everything that they need. I'm sure Cody, the Young Bucks, Adam Page, Brandy are going to put a little bit of money in themselves. In addition to that, one of the parties that Khan is helping to facilitate the television deal with is Time Warner, who, if AEW and Khan do break a deal with, would have AEW on TBS or TNT. That is interesting. That is interesting because when WCW was killed, and everyone thinks that WCW was killed by WWE. No. WWE was just doing their own thing. They weren't even trying to put WCW out of business. WCW died for a few things. Mismanagement, inmates running an asylum, the nail in the coffin for WCW, and I don't want to hear it from anybody else because this is the damn truth. The nail in the coffin for WCW was the AOL Time Warner merger, and when Ted Turner was thrown out of power, and the person in charge of programming hated professional wrestling. Did not want anything to do with professional wrestling. Obviously, that person's probably long gone. So, and if it gets on TNT or TBS, that would be really interesting. That's a lot of homes. You don't even have to have basic cable has TNT and TBS, so a lot of fans of AEW wouldn't even have to have a satellite package or a high-up cable package to get TNT or TBS. Even if you get like Hulu Plus or PlayStation Vue or Amazon TV, they all have TNT and TBS. So AEW would be starting off on the right foot. The only difference between WCW and AEW would be is the fact that when WCW was on TNT and TBS, is that it was Turner Broadcasting. It was Turner Networks who were running a wrestling company instead of wrestlers who had a TV deal like WWE. So this would be a wrestling company or wrestling people who know things about wrestling with a TV deal. So this would be more in line with what you want to see. Also, according to Raj's report, legendary commentator Jim Ross will be heavily involved with the company in both a commentary position and a backstage role. Ross has denied these reports previously, but his deal with WWE is also set to run out in the first quarter of 2019. Wrestling super agent Barry Bloom's name is also in the mix for a recruitment role, as he represents a great deal of notable talent in the business. A name that has been brought up is Goldberg, and it is reported that AEW will go hard for talent that includes wrestling legends in the current crop of top main talents. As I said, you need to have guys that nobody knows about. They need to have people going to like these indie feds and finding the next Goldberg before they're found by WWE, or before they're found by Ring of Honor, or they're found by an Impact Wrestling. Like Bandito was found by Matt and Nick Jackson. I believe it was Matt Jackson. I could be wrong, but Matt or Nick Jackson or both, and was booked for All In. Unfortunately, they didn't have a TV deal yet. They didn't have anything like not everything was settled and straight for them. So he chose Ring of Honor. But they need to find that next guy or woman, man or woman, and have them build them up as best they can. Give them the ball and see if they run with it. But let's like a guy like Goldberg, who is following AEW's Twitter accounts, I guess, so we could see him possibly showing up there. The thing about having wrestling legends come out, I do not want them to really go hard on wrestling legends, because Impact Wrestling did that, and I honestly don't know how they made it out of the asylum years. Go back and watch, because it's on YouTube, and it's put on by Impact Wrestling themselves. Go watch their first ever pay-per-view, episode 1. God, I don't know how they made it past that first episode. That was just atrocious. You had the young stars like AJ Styles, James Storms, and all these other guys getting beaten and taken down by Elvis Presley impersonators or guys who were dressed up looking like human condoms. It was just so mind-numbingly bad. I don't know how Impact TNA survived past pay-per-view 1, because that thing was awful. And that was something happening like 17 years ago. It was just so bad. And they relied a lot on legends. And yes, you need to rely on some big names. But honestly, again, a guy like Goldberg, I don't want to really see a Goldberg in anything other than maybe a cameo appearance, not something like, oh, I'm going to have a match for AEW, or I'm going to do this. I don't want to see a hack job sound Jim Duggan or the Nasty Boys or any of those guys from the 80s or early 90s or late 90s or early 2000s even. If you have a big name, Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, and Adam Page are going to be able to sell AEW themselves. Brandy, of course, too. And if they have Kenny Omega showing up, then that just sells the promotion themselves. They don't really need legends. Big name, like if they could get like somebody who's like leaving Ring of Honor, or somebody who wants to go to who wants to leave from WWE, if WWE can, like, if they can quit WWE and get to AEW. Like a Dolph Ziggler, a Tyler Breeze, a Zack Ryder, the Revival. Okay, fine. But I don't want to see them also pull in Impact Wrestling and try and become a WWE Light. Impact Wrestling was making good waves as an alternative because they were doing things that WWE wasn't doing. I don't want to see... This is like reading the fact that they're going to go after legends in the current crop of top-name performers. Legends, can we just... No. No. I don't want to see a Kevin Nash. I don't want to see a Scott Hall. I don't want to see an X-Pac. I don't want to see anybody come out there and be like, oh, talking all this stuff, because that's just a nostalgia pop. And WWE just has hit us over the head with the nostalgia hammer way too hard over the last, 3 or 4 years, maybe even longer than that, with, like, look at Crown Jewel. We had Shawn Michaels come out of retirement, waste a return match for a country that didn't deserve it, to go up against a Kane and The Undertaker who are just, like, shells of the former selves. Triple H gets hurt in that match. So it's just like we get to a, like, I don't want to watch AEW and be hit over the head with legend after legend after legend, nostalgia after nostalgia after nostalgia after nostalgia. Just no, we don't need it. Current crop of top named performers, okay, that's fine. Those are the names that you need. I've said this to myself a couple times when What Culture Pro Wrestling, which is now Defiant Wrestling, started. I didn't know a lick about Big Damo, who is now Killian Dane. I didn't know anything about Noam Dar, who was in the Cruiserweight Classic a little bit after that. I did nothing about Joe Hendry or Mark Kirby or even Primate or Mustache Mountain, Pete Dunne, or any of the British wrestlers who come from What Culture Pro Wrestling / Defiant. I was like, the two reasons I watched What Culture Pro Wrestling from the start and then fell off a little bit after it changed its name because they went with an invasion angle, and I ranted about that a couple months ago. But the reason that I started watching was two reasons. The Adams, Jack, and Ross were involved. King Ross was involved. He was now Ross Twaddell. He doesn't use King anymore because it's copyrighted. But I watched it because they were the ones who were part of this. And they booked one of my favorite wrestlers from his Impact Wrestling days, and the fact that he's like one of the greatest wrestlers in the United States who has not worked for WWE, Jay Lethal. He was booked for their first few shows. He had an excellent match against Noam Dar. That was one of the best matches of their first few set of tapings. And you want to get top name performers because you bring them in because that brings in the audience, but you want the audience to stay for talent that they've never seen before. So you bring in the top name talent and you book them against other top name talent most of the time to start out, or you have a top name talent go in there with, like, say, a Cody Rhodes up against a young up and coming guy who Cody has seen in other wrestling promotions and knows that this guy can go, but I have no idea who he is. I'm going to watch AEW. Cody Rhodes, not in the main event, probably mid through the show. Cody Rhodes is going up against this guy. Cody, of course, is going to win, but this isn't going to be a 5-minute squash match. They're going to go 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes, and Cody is going to put this guy over in a winning effort. That's what you do. I mean, when Jay Lethal went up against Noam Dar, I have never seen. I don't think the Cruiserweight Classic was started yet, I don't know. The Cruiserweight Classic hadn't started yet. I saw Noam Dar, but the first match I saw with Noam Dar was against Jay Lethal, and those two put on a hell of a match, and I'm like, damn, I can't wait to see this guy because he's going to be in the Cruiserweight Classic. And then, of course, after the Cruiserweight Classic, Noam Dar was put down to being just a scrub on 205 Live, gets injured, which was probably the biggest blessing in his career, goes out to when he comes back, goes to the UK tournament thing, wins the #1 contenders match to face Pete Dunne on the first episode, I think it was the first or second episode of the NXT UK show. I watched that match, and my word, those two put on a hell of a match. And it's like, the match that Pete Dunne and Noam Dar put on was what I remember Noam Dar was doing in What Culture for the first two shows that the only two shows he was actually on. That's how you start a good wrestling promotion. That's how you start. You bring in the big names for a bit. You let them help build your legacy. You get more fans in that way. But you eventually got to just say, we don't need them anymore, and we're going to build our own stars. So I really don't want to see legends like Goldberg. Okay, he comes in. I don't want to have like him come in and just do a promo. If they're going to have him do like some kind of work with them, okay. I can see him actually working with them. I'm sure him and Cody probably know each other and probably talk every once in a while because he worked with Dusty in WCW. It will just be interesting to see what we got. Continuing on here, Chris Jericho is also reported to have an in-depth role once the company is legally able to. They'll make a run at WWE employees who are not necessarily wrestling talent, but other ones in the roles to help with the inner workings of the promotion. Of course, that makes a lot of sense because basically, if you're going to want to start a big promotion like this, who better than to go and find talent in. When I mean talent, I don't just mean wrestling talent. I mean the talent in the back who know how to run a promotion, who know how to like the lighting crews. Like one of the biggest things that when you watch that Monday Night War, the documentary thing that they did in WCW versus WWE, you talk about how I believe it was one of them that they talked about how WCW's camera angles and the people who ran cameras for WCW were just shit compared to WWE. And honestly, I can believe that because WWE's camera guys and girls have been there and been doing this for so long. yes, and quite honestly, it would not surprise me if the AEW gets some of those, because I'm sure people like the camera crews and other crews and people who work in production who are in NXT would love to be working on the main roster, I guess. But and it would be a nice way to promote them up, and then you can use more people in NXT, get another chance, get some more chances, and just circle life. Raj finally states that while Cody and the Bucks are indeed executive vice presidents, the trio's primary focus will be as in-ring talent. That right there is interesting, because yes, the Young Bucks are going to be the bookers. They're also going to be in-ring talents. That is something that you like. I want to see this succeed. I want to see this become a game-changing show. But it could happen, and I don't want it to happen. It could always happen to be that the Young Bucks, who are going to be the bookers, which honestly, and I know this just from watching WCW's downfall years. Nobody who is nobody who is an in-ring talent should ever be the booker. Period. WCW did it with Kevin Sullivan. Kevin Nash was running the book for a little bit. Ric Flair was running the book for a little bit. Honestly, they should have like JR come in, and JR should probably start as being like probably in the creative room. Having an in-ring talent run the books is definitely a what do you want to say? It's a recipe for disaster. It might start off well. You might see things start working at the beginning, but then you start seeing Young Bucks getting more and more screen time. Young Bucks doing more and more. Young Bucks winning more and more. Young Bucks putting themselves over compared to other people. I'm not saying that's going to happen, because I just explained that earlier with the Bandito thing. But it's just, I want to trust the Young Bucks. I want to give Matt and Nick Jackson the benefit of the doubt, but it's just, we've seen it multiple times. Vern Gagne in the AWA was the booker of the AWA, and at one time, and when he was the guy on top, when he was still active in the ring, he made himself the champion because he didn't trust anybody else. And that was back then when it was cutthroat, and it wasn't it was like, you didn't give somebody a contract. You just had, hey, can you work this date, and this date? It's one of those things that when you say the Young Bucks are going to be the bookers, with the story of them pretty much making Bandito an indie star at All In, you hope and pray that they could keep that up forever. But honestly, and it's just, I have nothing against Matt and Nick Jackson. I respect what they've done for the wrestling business. I honestly think that within 6 months they should have somebody who's not an in-ring active competitor being the booker, or having a group of people booking the show who are not in-ring competitors, who don't have an agenda, which is kind of hard to do in the wrestling business. Even outside the wrestling business, everybody has an agenda. Everybody has an agenda. We're trying to find people who can run the books and look out for the younger talent and look out for everybody and make things make sense. I'm not saying, again, I don't want to try and discount the Young Bucks, but it's just one of those things that makes me think that we've seen it multiple times before, somebody getting the book who also is an in-ring competitor, their career skyrocketing, and everybody underneath just falling underneath, and it's like pretty much, and it's just one of those things. It's like the Click. The Click they didn't have the book, but they were pretty much just they had their pens on the sheet of paper writing down and giving Vince McMahon ideas. I don't want to see this turn into a Click thing where Cody and the Bucks start running the show in their favor instead of everybody's favor. Just let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about the Bucks being pretty much the primary bookers of this new promotion. Now, if they were retired, if they would say, you know what, we've been doing this for 15 years, we're going to be the backstage guys, we're not going to be out there anymore, only occasionally when it calls for it, okay, that's fine. But they're going to be in-ring talent. Makes me worry. Speaking of Double or Nothing Rally, how can you watch this? All Elite Wrestling issued the following press release to the WrestleZone announcing watch details for the next Tuesday's Double or Nothing Rally in Jacksonville, Florida. Fans not in attendance will be able to follow along with the live stream on the Being the Elite YouTube channel, as well as on some of the signed talent social media accounts. The post also revealed Brandy Rhodes' official title with the promotion as Chief Brand Officer. The Elite announces Double or Nothing rally in Jacksonville on Tuesday, January 8 at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're in Japan, if you're in Japan, it'd be 5 a.m. I believe Eastern Time. If you're in 5 a.m. Japan time. If you're in the UK, I believe it's 10 o'clock GMT time, something like that. All Elite Wrestling, new wrestling promotion headlined by members of the event, announced plans for a special Double or Nothing rally in Jacksonville, Florida. The event is free and open to the public, which means there's going to be so many people coming up. This will take place on Tuesday, January 8th, and outside TIAA Bank Field in the parking lot near Gate 1, adjacent to the TV compound. So they got a lot of room. Hopefully, they have this thing corded off to where you want people to be. The rally is on the heels of the unveiling earlier this week of Double or Nothing, the inaugural event under the new All Elite Wrestling AEW banner. Keeping it true elite fashion, attendees can expect the unexpected as the rally will showcase the true spirit of wrestling entrepreneurship and feature special guests, inside information, and limited edition merchandise. Fans can also watch the event live on Being the Elite YouTube channel, as well as All Elite Wrestling Twitter, the Young Bucks Facebook, the Brandy Rhodes Instagram, and can interact socially at AEW. The Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, are right with me in committing the delivery on our promise to change the wrestling landscape in 2019, and Double or Nothing event is just the start, said Cody Rhodes. The time to change the world is now. Before we move on, I will not, of course, be there because I live in Ohio and I have no way of getting down to Jacksonville, Florida by Tuesday. Anyway, what I'm hoping for this Double or Nothing rally is maybe, just maybe, because I'm sure they've been talking about and building this and getting everything, the name, the championship designs done. Maybe not all of them. Maybe the world title, maybe the All Elite Wrestling Heavyweight Championship would be hopefully unveiled at this show. Maybe not there because it's a rally and you never know. People are going to probably try and storm the area to get that title belt. Maybe we get to see some kind of picture or something, or maybe they have a screen of what it's going to look like. That would be awesome to see what their main championship is going to look like. Maybe they say we're going to have a tag team, a women's, and some kind of mid-card title. It would be interesting to see what they're going to do, but I will be posting it. I will be doing that. It will be going up as soon as... It'll be going up probably right before SmackDown Live, depending on how long this rally is going to be. I will definitely be letting you guys know how the Double or Nothing rally goes. It will be on Unscripted Extra Tuesday afternoon. It should be interesting to see. Speaking of All Elite, still continuing on. As confirmed by Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Britt Baker has signed All Elite Wrestling. Baker was featured in the All-In event in the Fatal 4-Way against Tessa Blanchard, Madison Rayne, and Chelsea Green. And this is interesting because out of the 4 women, Britt Baker was the only one not signed to a major company. Madison Rayne signed with Ring of Honor after the Mae Young Classic. Tessa Blanchard signed with Impact Wrestling. Chelsea Green recently signed with the WWE. Now you can add Britt Baker. So the 4 women of the Fatal 4-Way at All In now have a home and a major promotion. She has spent her time working in Stardom, Ring of Honor, and Shimmer, and has also made a few appearances on NXT. She did have a match against Shayna Baszler, I believe it was in the middle of November or the end of October, and she ended up injured with a separated shoulder. Her signing is one of the first of many to help establish AEW as a promotion, which has Brandy Rhodes becoming a key contributor to the women. More details around revealed with Jim Ross and Chris Jericho receiving undisclosed major roles. And of course, with the AEW rally happening in Jacksonville as well, AEW will host a Double or Nothing rally in Jacksonville this Tuesday. That night's SmackDown Live will emanate for Jacksonville as well. Brian Alvarez stated on the Wrestling Observer Radio that there will be WWE officials reportedly in attendance monitoring the AEW rally. I hope the hell, and this would be funny because Cody was in WWE for years, I hope the hell whoever is at this rally for WWE gets called out by Cody Rhodes. I would die laughing. I would die laughing if we have Cody Rhodes actually single them out. He probably isn't going to do that, but it would just be hilarious. So before we move on to the Kenny Omega stuff and everything, the somber news of the week, What do I see from All Elite Wrestling? Who do I think should join All Elite Wrestling? My thing is I believe since it is going to be in the United States primarily, I think Shinsuke Nakamura should leave WWE, not go back to Japan, but move to AEW. He's not doing anything in WWE. WWE has pretty much stripped every single thing that made him Shinsuke Nakamura and killed his character to where he just doesn't even matter. Gave him the United States Championship, being like, yeah, we couldn't give you the WWE title because we were in the middle of a 371 title reign for AJ Styles, so we're going to give you the U.S. title. Oh, you have the U.S. title? We're just going to have you sit at home and do nothing half the time. Sit down, take your little phone app and say, no one's worthy of facing me, so I'll show up when I feel like it. I think that Shinsuke Nakamura losing to Rusev should have been it. We should not see him anymore. His contract is up in March, and WWE, and as I reported a couple weeks ago on Unscripted, that if Shinsuke Nakamura is not in the U.S. title match at WrestleMania, he's going to be in the Battle Royal. And could you imagine last year winning the Royal Rumble, going to WrestleMania to face AJ Styles? 1 year later, you're in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. How far your career has fallen in WWE. How far your stock has fallen in WWE. To go from number one contender all the way down to the Battle Royal on the pre-show. That is absolutely sad. Hey, he wrestled WrestleMania once. He went to SummerSlam twice. He was he at SummerSlam this year? I don't think so, actually. He was at Survivor Series twice, I believe. Yeah, he was in last year's Power 1-5 match. He got to be the United States champion and probably had the best match of his entire main roster career against Mr. Monday Night Rollins himself, Seth Rollins. WWE took everything that made Shinsuke Nakamura great and just killed it on the main roster. And quite honestly, if I was him, I'd be calling Cody Rhodes up, who I'm sure, or I'd be calling the Young Bucks up, who he's probably had interactions with because he was in New Japan for years, and the Young Bucks were around too. And I would be like, my contract's up at this date, let me join AEW. I would love to be a part of AEW, and that would be, I think, huge for Shinsuke Nakamura. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows also, I think, should join AEW. They're not doing anything. They even said from August to the end of December they were nowhere to be found. Absolutely nowhere to be found. They come back and they pin the tag team champions, I believe, in an 8-man tag match. Maybe they get a tag team opportunity at the Royal Rumble, but other than that, I'd say they should leave. Another team that should leave is the Revival. They're going to need tag teams over there, and WWE is doing absolutely nothing with a stellar tag team in Dash and Dawson. A tag team that is actually one of Jim Cornette's favorite things about professional wrestling right now is the Revival. He loved what they did in NXT. So I could see them being in AEW. They would have to, of course, not be called the Revival or Scott Dawson and Dash Ryder unless that's their actual names, which I highly doubt it. But AEW, I could see them. Zack Ryder, not as a major player, but somebody who can actually be used by AEW. I could see being in I can see him being a mid-card guy who could win like the mid-card championship. Definitely would be interesting to see what we could get from there. Who else could I see moving from WWE? People say Dolph Ziggler, but I really don't. I honestly don't think Dolph Ziggler is going anywhere for another wrestling promotion. I just think he is going to be, when his contract's up and when he's done, his dates are up and he's time to go. He has other outside ventures. He's doing stand-up comedy. He's doing other things. I don't see Dolph Ziggler wrestling for anybody else other than WWE. I know we said that about Chris Jericho for years. Now he's a 10-time Intercontinental Champion by winning the IWGP Intercontinental title and holding it for many, many months. But I don't see Dolph Ziggler. He's just one of those guys that I see not doing anything else outside of wrestling again outside of WWE. Who else? Who else could I see going? Hmm. Let me think here. I don't know, but they need to start cutting some weight because there's absolutely nobody. There's absolutely nobody else that like WWE just. They need to start dropping people, and I know they don't want to, but I think it's time that WWE just drops a couple people that they're not going to use. I mean, look at I can see Andrade Cien almost leaving too. I mean, he did, and this is the thing, and this is one of the things that probably is why Andrade Cien almost is frustrated with himself, frustrated with WWE and the fact that his position. It is simple because he was a masked luchador. He was El Sombra in, I think he was in the LIJ. I think he was in LIJ at one time, but he he went out and like risked his mask in a mask versus mask match before he came to WWE. I would be pissed as fuck if I actually changed my career so much, for the fact that I come to this wrestling promotion to be in a good position, and then first off I go to NXT and they make me like a Chippendale dancer. So, and then of course Selena Vega comes in and she just makes the thing all that much better. But it's just not good for him. I can understand why he'd be frustrated because it's like why I've been working my ass off. I've been doing everything I could. I come up to the main roster. They use me a little bit. I did everything I could to change myself, take my mask off, and this is what you're doing with me? I would be pissed too if I went from being a highly successful masked luchador, being signed by WWE, but they want the mask on, so I go and, mask versus mask matches don't happen all the time, and if they do, they are still big money days. But losing that mask just to go to the WWE, and now you're not even using me. Yeah, I would be pissed too. If he wants to leave and go to AEW, I could honestly see it. One person I don't want to see them even come close to touching is Alberto El Patron. This guy has had so many chances with Impact Wrestling, WWE, and squandered them all. I don't want to see him in a wrestling ring again. I don't want to see him in the mainstream again. Why that name came up? Because it just seems like somebody who's like, oh, I'll join AEW if they ask me. I would join this place if they ask me. But I don't want to see them whatsoever. Him whatsoever. It's just no thank you. And of course, the question is, what happens with Kenny Omega? AEW, wrong one. No, it's not here. With Kenny Omega defending his IWGP, which this already happened, he lost his IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Despite being under contract with the New Japan Pro Wrestling until later this month, Dave Meltzer reported in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer Radio, WWE made Omega a fantastic offer. With All Elite Wrestling being announced earlier this week, Meltzer noted that Omega is a wild card as NJPW obviously wants to keep him while AEW wants him as well. In a related note, Meltzer said that AEW, Ring of Honor, and New Japan will be all meeting on Saturday while they may discuss how they can all work together. There are obvious issues with Ring of Honor and AEW partnering as the two promotions are signing their talent to U.S. exclusive deals while competing for the same talent. And of course, Hiroshi Tanahashi beat Omega, which makes things even more interesting. Now, we'll talk about Omega first in a second, but when it comes to AEW and Ring of Honor working together, I can see this easily being like they won't work together in the United States, and AEW and Ring of Honor talent will only clash in New Japan Pro Wrestling. If New Japan Pro Wrestling puts on the G1 Climax and they want to use like Cody or Hangman Page or the Young Bucks, or they do the Tag Team League and they want to use the Young Bucks, or they want to use Jeff Cobb from Ring of Honor or Jay Lethal or anybody else from either one of those, Don Castle was his name? No. What's his name? Castle, the Castle Kid. I can't remember his first name. They want to use the Kingdom, or they want to use any of those guys, or Christopher Daniels is in AEW. If they want to use Christopher Daniels or Frankie Kazarian in the G1 Climax, and they also want to use, say Jeff Cobb from Ring of Honor, and saying Christopher Daniels is in AEW. Christopher Daniels in AEW, Jay Lethal from Ring of Honor, and Cody Rhodes from AEW. Those four guys in the G1 Climax. Okay, here's what you do. New Japan lets AEW and Ring of Honor know that they want to use these talents, or notify that they want to use these talents for the G1 Climax, and then if they really don't have to, you could have Ring of Honor in A block, and you can have AEW in B block. They're both working in Japan for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and they're U.S. exclusive deals, which means they can't work outside. They can't work with anybody else in the United States. They can go to Defiant Wrestling if AEW wants to partner with them. Maybe not Progress or ICW because that's like WWE territory. There's other places too in the UK. Rev Pro for sure, but it's like maybe that's what they could do. Like they meet together. AEW, Ring of Honor signs a contract with New Japan. It's like we won't use talent against each other in the United States, but if if New Japan wants to use AEW and Ring of Honor at the same time, just have notify both companies that those talents are going to be wanted to be used, and both companies sign off, and you're good. The biggest thing about that is, with the fact that you aren't going to have two guys, you're not going to want to see like people in AEW or people in Ring of Honor are not going to want to have their guys lose to the other company. And that's just like why people wonder why is Impact Wrestling and WWE never going to do a crossover event. Simple. WWE doesn't want any of their talent to lose to Impact Wrestling stars, and Impact Wrestling doesn't want any of those people to lose to WWE stars. It's that simple. Anybody wonders why does WWE not like people? I know there's been people out there clamoring because Impact Wrestling and WWE are under like a more friendlier terms now, that people have been for years wanted to see a WWE versus why do you think WCW and WWF never got to the point where we could have seen a WWF versus WCW show? WCW versus WWF show. For the simple fact is, nobody in WWF would Vince McMahon would not even think or dare let one of his superstars lose to a WCW guy. And Eric Bischoff would have never let one of his guys lose to a WWF guy. Same thing here. And that's why I think if you want to do the G1 Climax, which has an A block and a B block, you could have the AEW stars in B block or A block, and the Ring of Honor stars in the other block. They do not meet, and you can have it booked to where either one side or the other side gets, if you want to have one of those guys make the finals, which I highly doubt, but you can just have those guys make up A block or B block a little bit, and there you go. They're both competing in New Japan. They're actually on different days because I believe A block is one day, B block is the next day. I could be totally wrong. I tried to keep up. I didn't watch anybody. I tried to keep up with the G1 Climax, but I would definitely want to go to the G1 Climax this year for at least the first night, because the G1 Climax opener is going to be in Dallas, just so you know. But that is one of the things when it comes to a partnership like this. New Japan and Ring of Honor have a good relationship, and that's why you're getting that G1 Supercard in April, the night before WrestleMania. AEW and Ring of Honor, people say they should work together, but honestly, I don't see that happening. Impact Wrestling in its early days actually worked with Ring of Honor. What do you think AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and others like that came? They came from Ring of Honor. And then, of course, when Impact Wrestling was getting a little bit higher up, they contacted their guy. They told Ring of Honor, we're not going to let our guys come there anymore. So that is why you didn't see Ring of Honor. You didn't watch. That's why you didn't see. That's why Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling kind of broke off for so long, because Impact Wrestling got a lot better, or a little bit more notoriety, and they didn't want to have their guys lose or work with Ring of Honor anymore. For the simple fact is, it's kind of stupid how it is, but there's so many people out there with the egos that they have that they don't want to see their guys lose to somebody else's guy. That's why you don't see we know that WWE is in a healthier terms because they had that meeting with Impact Wrestling months ago, but you're not going to see a NXT versus Impact Wrestling show. You're not going to see a WWE versus Impact Wrestling show because even though they're on better grounds, Impact Wrestling is beneath WWE. If Impact Wrestling is not going to go into a crossover event against WWE and know that they're going to lose every single match, they don't want their guys to look weak to WWE, even though it is a weaker show and a weaker product. Even though I think Impact Wrestling probably should put on better matches and better shows overall, sometimes over WWE. Let's see what we have here. Moving out of the AEW thing, we have a lot of that we've gone over. New details on the women's tag team titles. Belt fan Dan on Twitter posted the following details about the design for the women's tag team titles for WWE. The original plans for the belts that wrestlers are rumored involved with the titles down the road, and which titles could also see a redesign. The old female penny-style tags were delivered in early summer, like he reported. WWE did not like the final product nor the reaction to the leak. Well, what did you expect, WWE? The leak was trash. It was supposed to be these titles that look like, they look like the men's titles, except for instead of the Spartans, they were like two goddesses for women. Look like shit. They absolutely look like shit. I don't like the penny designs for the men. I wish they would get rid of the Spartan heads. Plain and simple. Absolutely plain and simple. They look like shit. Original plans for the Bayley-Sasha feud was to lead them, if you want to call that a fucking feud, because that was trash, winning the women's tag team titles around SummerSlam. Why not at SummerSlam? That makes no sense. Then plans changed and reworked with Evolution in mind, then scrapped. New design belts were ordered, and as seen, Wildcat did them as well. I was not told to expect them, when to expect them, but Sasha Banks and Bayley are still supposed to be heavily involved. This is not the first time WWE has made new belts only to scrap them. Several years ago, they had a new ECW belt made with a diamond plate texture, main plate and chain link side plates with removable name plates, which we see now on, well, we still see on other ones. This belt was never used because apparently CM Punk did not like it. It resides today in the belt chest at the WWE warehouse. Why didn't you just use it after CM Punk was done being an ECW champion? Did he even win the ECW title? I think he did, like, one time. Instead of that shit one that they gave Mark Henry, which looked like shit. It was also told that both Raw and SmackDown tag team belts would be changed to have the removable team side plates, which I also reported over a year ago, when the idea was brought up to have proposed for the United States belts. Quite honestly, can we please just redesign the tag team title belts completely? They just say tag team champions, or WWE tag team champions. They don't even say Raw with SmackDown, unless I'm reading something wrong. The only way you know the Raw and SmackDown tag team title belts is the leather. That's it. Can we get rid of those Spartan helmets, which have been around since 2010 when they were the nickel plates with the black straps? You can keep the red and blue straps, but give us something else. I like the World Tag Team titles from 2003 to 2010. Or 2002 or 2003 to 2010. Those ones I liked. I know people like the old WWF World Tag Team titles from like when the Nasty Boys, or when the Demolition and all those, when Demolition held the longest reigning tag team championships back then. But that is definitely going to be something that I still don't even like. They can't even get the men's tag team division right. What makes you think the women's tag team division is going to be anything better? I don't care. Until pretty much with this whole quote unquote change, which I'm going to talk about in a second, how it's bullshit anyway. But this whole change of direction, we should see tag team wrestling actually matter. And as I reported, I believe last week, Vince McMahon does not see money in tag team wrestling, so I don't see that happening anytime soon. Until Triple H is in fucking charge, or whoever is going to get in charge, and who actually hopefully cares about the wrestling business, don't expect tag team wrestling, and this women's tag team wrestling is just going to be even worse. What I would do is not tag team titles, give them a women's intercontinental title on Raw to match the men's intercontinental title, which, quite honestly, if you want to make the women's intercontinental title look like the men's intercontinental title, I have no problem with that. That is a beautiful design. And give them a women's United States Championship with a different design, please. The United States Championship, on another note, I think should be redesigned completely. That title belt has been the same for 16 years, and it's time to change it. It came out in 2003, right? Yeah, 2003. That one that Stephanie McMahon, I guess, introduced. Please change that title belt. It just looks dated. I think there was a picture going around that looked like the Intercontinental title, but it was the United States Championship. No, let's not do that. I don't want all the titles to look the same. I think that's just stupid. I mean, hell, the UK tag team titles are the best looking tag team championships out there for WWE. Quite honestly, they are probably one of the best tag team title belts that I think I've seen. And next to that, the North American Championship, which was introduced last year, is one of the better belts in WWE. So let me know what you think about that. And yeah, those nickel plates were they were trash. I'm so glad they didn't go with the penny plates or whatever you want to call them. They were horrible. Now, you know how we have new and fresh. We're going to talk about that in a second. We're going to talk about this first. Another one was lost. Another legend was lost this past Monday. I think it was Tuesday. Just made it into the new year and got to toast probably one more time in the new year. Mean Gene Okerlund has passed away, unfortunately. WWE sadly learned that WWE Hall of Famer Gene Okerlund, the most recognizable interview in sports entertainment history, has passed away at age 76. In his early days, Mean Gene, as he was named by fellow Minnesotan Jesse the Body Ventura, first came to prominence by interviewing the greatest star of the AWA, including Ventura, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Hulk Hogan in 1984. Okerlund made the move to WWE, where he became a staple of national cable television by continuing to interview the biggest names in sports entertainment like Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, which it seemed like him and Macho Man's Randy Savage in interviews, which I wasn't alive then, but like you just go back and watch these interviews and it just seemed like these two played off each other so well. The Ultimate Warrior, and many, many more. Okerlund branched out for interviewing by providing ringside commentary and hosting several shows, including All-American Wrestling, Tuesday Night Titans, Wrestling Challenge, and Primetime Wrestling. Announcing wasn't all that Okerlund could do with his microphone, as he distinct voice sung the national anthem at the first WrestleMania in 1985. Later that year, Okerlund would sing Tutti Frutti on the WWE's wrestling album. Let's forget about Tutti Frutti, please. In 1993, Okerlund joined WCW as lead interviewer, where he continued to interview many of the legends he had worked with in the AWA and WWE, as well as WCW stalwart Sting, DDP, Goldberg, and others. In 2001, Gene returned to the WWE to call a gimmick battle royal at WrestleMania 17, along with Bobby the Brain Heenan, and continued to appear in WWE television programming, including being a cast member of WWE's network, Legend House. His last appearance on WWE TV was at Raw 25, when he had an interview with AJ Styles, where AJ Styles did the old, well, let me tell you something about Mean Gene, and it was just an interview that it was just a good cameo appearance for Gene Okerlund, who was there. WWE and everybody here in the wrestling community, including myself here at Unscripted, extend its condolences to the Okerlund family, friends, and fans. More details on his passing in the Associated Press outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota, had an article on the world losing Gene Okerlund, who passed away at the age of 76. The AP reports that Okerlund fell a few weeks back, and according to Gene's son, it just kind of went from bad to worse from the Hall of Famer. TMZ also reported an update with son Todd Okerlund telling them Gene suffered multiple broken ribs and ended up in the Sarasota hospital as a result of the fall. He said Gene was admitted to a nursing home 4 days before his death, but was rushed to a hospital Wednesday before he passed away. Jim Ross, in his latest edition of the Ross Report, also commented on how Okerlund told him how he was having a hard time keeping his balance and getting fatigue easier when the two talked during WrestleCade 2018 over Thanksgiving weekend. Man, the wrestling world is losing a lot of legends. This is another one, and the new year did not wait. Dusty Rhodes passed away in 2014, 15 was it? And he died. I think he passed away from a similar fate. He had a fall, went to the hospital, and next thing you know, he passed away. So it sucks. I mean, I did watch that Legends House with Gene Okerlund and Roddy Piper, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and others. If you haven't seen it yet, go to the WWE Network and check out Legends House Season 1. I wish they would do a Season 2 with, like, Attitude Era stars, like Triple H. This would be funny, like Triple H, Road Dogg, and like Triple H, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, if they could get him over there, The Rock, which I doubt they could do that. It would just be funny to see an Attitude Era or a golden a what was it, a new era of like Bret Hart, Scott Hall, Diesel, everyone else in the Hurt Foundation is gone except for Bret. Crap. But you know, it would be great to see a new Legends house with different legends. I mean, rest in peace, Roddy Piper. Rest in peace, Gene Okerlund. It sucks. It really does. But speaking of WWE's quote unquote change, and I am gonna call him out on this. WWE has confirmed Hulk Hogan will appear on WWE Raw this Monday to honor the late great Gene Okerlund. The only thing I want to see from this, before I read anything else, the only thing I want to see is a video package. They don't need to see him on Monday Night Raw. Change does not come with Hulk Hogan. I know he's going to be there to honor Gene Okerlund, but what honestly could he do in the middle of the ring that he could just do on a video package? Plain and simple. Hulk Hogan and Gene Okerlund are synonymous with each other due to Okerlund's key role in the WWF in the 1980s and Hogan's let me tell you something, Mean Gene catchphrase during some of his most famous promos. Hogan paid tribute to Okerlund after passing by posting the following comments on Twitter. He said, and I quote, "The best partner I ever had. We never rehearsed or did anything scripted from a former writer. Because back in 1984, Hulk, Terry, you didn't have to be scripted. Everything came from off the top of your head. Somewhere between the Attitude Era and now, WWE decided, let's write scripts for everybody instead of doing what we did, and that worked for years before that. When Gene would ask me, hey, big man, what do you want to do? I would always answer, just fall on me, brother, and it worked from 1987 to 2017. R.I.P., my brother, Hulk Hogan. A lot of people are tweeting out rest in power to Gene Okerlund, which I actually like better than rest in peace. I don't know what it actually means, but like what it means on like what the rest in power came from, but I like that sounds a lot cooler than rest in peace. Trust me, anybody who has passed on is at peace because they don't have to live in this world anymore. Hogan last appeared on television in November's WWE Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. Monday Night will mark the first time he has appeared on Raw in March of 2015. Let me tell you something, Mean Gene. Many of Hulk Hogan's most memorable proclamations, making interviewer and backstage personality Mean Gene Okerlund a cornerstone of Hulkamania in the 1980s. Now, in the wake of Okerlund's recent passing, Hogan returned to WWE program this Monday Night Raw to honor his longtime friend. In a Twitter post, usually called Mean Gene the best partner. Okerlund, I already won't see that. Hogan and Okerlund's friendship spanned the decades from WWE to WCW and back to WWE. On Monday Night Raw, Hogan honors his brother. Don't miss this milestone moment, which I don't like that verbiage, but whatever. On Monday Night Raw, beginning at 8/7 Central on the USA Network. This will be back to live. We will definitely be covering this show. I will be here watching it as I usually do, taking notes, getting everything going, and then have a big old complaint about it. Because WWE says they're going to do change. I know he's honoring his friend. Video package is all you need to see. Do the title card before they do, which I'm sure they'll do bigger for Mean Gene because it is Mean Gene Okerlund. Kind of ironic though that a guy like Mean Gene Okerlund, who I heard I've never met Gene Okerlund. I wish I could have. I wish I could meet a lot of the guys who have passed on, from Roddy Piper to Dusty Rhodes to like Big Van Vader. I would have loved to meet Leon and Dusty and everyone else. But I know Jesse Ventura gave him the nickname, but it's kind of funny that it's ironic that a guy as nice as I've heard Mean Gene Okerlund is, to have the nickname Mean Gene. It's just one of those ironic nicknames that just worked with him, and it just something that came. It was like one of those things that was thrown out there. And it was thrown out there probably once, and it hit, and it stuck. It wasn't one of those things that you just throw out there and you continue to throw out there until it finally sticks after you put some glue on it and then throw it. Doesn't stick, throw some super glue on there, throw it. That's how it seems nowadays. But this was just one of those things that you just throw out there, and boom, it worked. But that is going to be all for your Unscripted for episode 51. We had a lot. Pretty much it was mostly an All Elite episode. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of All Elite Wrestling. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on twitch.tv/TheFrosty08 and find me on Twitter at TheFront. We will be streaming this Monday right before Monday Night Raw. But this episode is we will have ourselves a nice Wrestle Kingdom mini review over 4 matches tomorrow afternoon. Until then, my name is TheFront. You guys have a good one, and I will see you tomorrow for Wrestle Kingdom 13 mini review. Until then, my name is TheFront, and I'm getting out of here.